Good afternoon, friends. I'm Paul, and welcome to Afternoon Story Time. Have a delightful beeswax candle here to take the chill off an overcast but pleasant afternoon. Bringing you one of my favorite childhood books, Jeepers the Little Frog, a Rand McNally book, Tip-Top Elf Book, originally sold for 29 cents. Written and illustrated by Marjorie Cooper, Rand McNally, Chicago. Copyright 1965. I searched on Marjorie Cooper and could find really not much about her, other than apparently she modeled or was inspired to write Jeepers the Little Frog based on a pond in her own backyard garden. So if you know more about Marjorie Cooper, post your comments below on that. One thing interesting about the printing process, both these books are printed in the USA. I've got an extra copy here. It's not in as great condition, but the interesting thing is that the colors used in the printing process, you can see, are different. And these are both published 1965, from that kind of fuchsia into this more muted color. This is like an orange. You can also see the different tone of the grass as well. The artwork in this book is phenomenal, so check it out. We got a raccoon here, fish, pond scene, bullfrog, ducks. Really nice. Dragonfly. Jimmy was helping his mother make a little pool in the middle of the garden. He carefully lifted a spadeful of earth out of the hole and dumped it on the pile. A big pink worm wiggled out of the soil. These are like some of my earliest reading memories, no joke. And I remember reading that with that worm wriggling out of the soil. And I subsequently dug many night crawlers to go fishing later. Jimmy picked up the worm and said wistfully, "I wish I had a real pet, Mom. I wish I had a little dog." "Perhaps when you are older, Jimmy, and can feed and care for a dog all by yourself," she replied. "Now I think the hole is just about right." They lifted a small tub and placed it in the hole, pushing the earth close around the edges. Then Mother piled some rocks in the tub. Jimmy turned on the garden hose faucet and filled the tub with water. This was a magical page for me when I was a kid. That just seemed so cool to me, filling up that tub to make a backyard pond. "Now," said Mother, "let's plant some flowers all around the edge, and it will look like a real little pool." Jimmy patted the earth around a pansy plant. "I wish I could have a goldfish," he said. "I bet there are fish in the pond beyond the meadow." Good idea, Jimmy. Tell you, nice color in this book for 1965. If Jimmy could only have seen what was in the pond right that minute. Darting about in the cool green water were dozens of tiny tadpoles. They looked like little fish with tails and no legs. Every day they grew a bit larger. Legs began to grow and the long tails started to shrink. Finally, there came a day when they had no tails left. They could jump and hop as well as swim. They were little frogs. There's everybody in the pond. One frog, who was bigger and bolder than the others, gave an extra big leap and landed kerplump right out of the pond onto the grassy bank. He was so surprised and pleased that he took another big hop, and then another and another. In no time at all, he had left the pond far behind. Rogue frog. Let's see, am I focused in here? Yeah, there we go. At last he stopped to rest. My, he was tired. Perhaps he should leap back into the pond, but he was lost. The pond was nowhere in sight. Suddenly he heard something coming. He hid way down under a leaf. Nice, looks like amanita mushrooms. Don't want to eat those. A big duck came waddling along, followed by 5 fluffy yellow ducklings. They did not even see the frightened little frog. They were on their way to swim in the pond. Little Frog was alone again. He stared all around with his pop eyes. Everything was still. He crawled out from under the leaf and started on, hippy-hop, kerplickety-plunk, over the grass and stones. Oh, if only he could find his nice green pond and leap into the water. Got the snail down there. That's some nice airborne action there. The frog. Listen, what was that? He sat motionless on a rock, trying to look like part of it. Something big and furry and padding along toward him. It was a fat raccoon with his little black mask over his eyes. He was on his way to the pond, too, where he liked to dip his food in the water before eating it. The bright button eyes looked this way and that. A little frog would make a mighty tasty morsel for his supper. Poor little frog. He sat quiet as quiet, and his green color changed to gray to match the rock on which he sat. If only he could leap into his pond and hide at the bottom. But the raccoon didn't see him, for the little frog looked like a stone on the rock. So he ambled along. Lucky break for our frog. It's a lady's slipper right there. Flower. Clover. It was getting dark, and oh, how the little frog wished he could find his home. He was tired and hungry and scared. At last he hopped off the rock and went on hippy-hop, kerplumpity-plunk. A big hop over a low stone wall, and hoppity-hop, kerplippity-plunk, kersplash. He was in the water. Where was he? He swam around and liked it, but because he was in a little pond. It wasn't big like his first home, but it was lovely and wet. And there were nice rocks to sit on and flies and bugs fluttering about just waiting to be eaten. He gave a big satisfied sigh and settled himself for the night, perched in the grass in the pond. The next morning when Jimmy went to the garden with his mother, his eyes grew round with surprise. Sitting on the rock that jutted from the pool, basking and blinking in the sun, sat the little frog. "Oh, Mother, look, a frog!" cried Jimmy. "Oh, jeepers, jeepers, I've got a pet, and one who can feed and take care of himself." Perfect arrangement. This was another image right here that really stayed with me when I was a kid. And the Tweety bird up top. Really nice. As Jimmy hurried toward him, the little frog croaked, "Awk, awk, awk." That sounded more like a crow. And jumped kersplash into the pool. He swam around and then crawled back onto the rock and stared at Jimmy. His little throat moved in and out as he breathed. He seemed to smile and look contented. "Oh," cried Jimmy, "what shall I call him? What shall I name him?" "Call him Jeepers," said Mother. And that is how Jeepers, the little frog, came to live in Jimmy's pool. And the robin pulling a night crawler, big earthworm out of the ground. What a lovely book, huh, friends? From the Tip-Top Elf Books series, Rand McNally. A lot of other titles there I was checking out. You know, you can pick some of these books up off eBay or Abe Books. I like to get books from a lot. And it's cool because if you have a book that's missing in your collection from childhood, I'm finding that they're pretty easy to find. And they're pretty well made too. And it's been a delight to share Jeepers the Little Frog by Marjorie Cooper, 1965. Please post your comments below, and thanks for watching.